So we're here this afternoon to discuss the recent launch of the 2016 DGL powered by Telkom, and of course the ramifications of what a huge announcement like this has on the future of esports in South Africa. Now, esports, I'm sure you're wondering what that's all about. I have a panelist joining me here this afternoon to break it down for us, because it's basically been so niche, this genre of entertainment in South Africa, and Telkom is helping bring it to the surface, as it were. So what we're going to do is get into the meat and bones of what online gaming is all about. How do you get involved? What is esports? What are shoutcasters? Another sports known as, of course, commentators. And what does a team that is involved in esports look like? What makes it up? And all, of course, after that, there'll be the huge announcement that will be made here as to the future of esports, courtesy of Telkom. I'm joined by a panel of gentlemen. Let's start right at the end there with Louis Williams, who is a shoutcaster, along with Barry Zara, who's an FPS expert and a multiple-time DGL winner. And of course, we're very happy to have you here. Joining him next to him is Richard Sugar, who's joined the DGL team, having been a big player as far as esports is concerned in South Africa. And of course, our guest of honor is Mr. Paul Shalona, who's a host and shoutcaster himself, joining us here. And then Mr. Steven Hayes joining us, also having been last year at the International, which was a huge Dota 2 competition, and you were a statistician there, you're also a shoutcaster. So let's get into this discussion, but let's start with you, Paul. A bit of a preamble maybe as to who you are and why you're here. We may all know, but for the people at home.
Sure. So I've been gaming for as long as I can remember. I was very lucky to be around at the birth of esports when it started kicking off in the 90s as a player, and I was pretty good.
You may say so yourself.
Pretty good. Unfortunately, age caught up with me, and so I started doing some shoutcasting, commentating, and I've been doing that for the last 14 years or so in esports. Traveled well into many of the biggest events across the world. It's a very privilege to be able to do something like that.
Awesome. Now you're here at the beginning of what will be a huge local event, hopefully years to come. Maybe you can tell us a bit about what our games, what the international scene is like when it comes to esports.
Well, it's huge now. It's been growing for many years. I think a lot of people from the outside look at it as something very new, but it's actually been underground for a long time. I set up involved in this for 14 years, others even longer. We've had online leagues, we've had some tournaments here and there, but they've never amounted to very much until the last 4 or 5 years. It's really become a massive industry. Over $600 million in revenue in 2015 alone. We've seen viewing figures of 14 million watching currently the new Legends World Cup Championship. So it's become a big business in a very short period of time. And now we're visiting stadiums and arenas and travelling the world to these famous arenas to show esports. So it's huge.
Okay, so you're in South Africa now. In terms of what you're seeing here, it's evidently on the boil, but what signs are you picking up that are showing that there's on a positive incline?
Yeah, I love visiting countries like South Africa for personal reasons as well, but also because it's great to see communities growing. And I know that there are many passionate people around the world in South America, in Australia, New Zealand, everywhere that is, dare I say, geographically challenged by being a bit further out than perhaps Central Europe or North America. And the passion is here. It's evident in droves. And I believe the talent is here as well. So I think it's only a matter of time before we see South African teams competing on the international stage. But what they need more than anything else is a professional league of their own that they can play against and compete against each other in order to be able to make that jump. So this is the start of that.
Okay, now there's some big titles out there like Dota 2 and CSGO in terms of their appeal and what they're doing internationally, and of course in terms of locally how teams can get better and become at an international level. How do you see that growing?
It's always difficult because ultimately it's about skill. But I think the innate skill already exists here in South Africa with the teams, but I think it's nothing more than they're already doing, but just more of it. I think the biggest challenge for some of the big international teams is that many of their players were part-time. They had other jobs. They had to earn money to pay the bills. Nowadays, those same players of big teams like Fnatic or Cloud9, for instance, are professional, they're paid, and they have team houses, and they have dietitians and psychologists and trainers and tacticians and managers and coaches. So they have all of the things that a sports team would have, but that didn't happen overnight. It's happened gradually over the last 4 or 5 years. So it will still take time for the South African teams to kind of reach that level. When you think of what they've got going for them and where they are skill-wise, they're not far behind. So I actually get quite excited about, hey, what if they had these team houses and all of these other cool things? Maybe they'd be kicking some ass nationally, internationally as well. Maybe, I mean, who knows? The dream is you see one of your countrymen standing up there at TI7 or something and lifting the ages, and you know, that's a dream that they have to hold on to. But I think it's more practical than that right now. It's about practice. It's about good practice. It's about team gelling together. It's about studying the opposition and looking abroad and seeing what the other team's doing internationally, and potentially even moving the meta themselves in some areas as well, and actually trying new things that there's no risk for them. They can plan their own leagues and try a few new things, and actually if they take those internationally, they might surprise a few teams.
Okay, and then your interactions with South African gamers, because we have the likes of Mr. Steenhuisen over here and Trevor Henry that have made appearances on the international stage. What's your interactions with South Africans?
Always great, but I have to say that he's a good guy. I'm very privileged actually to know Ben, because he and I share a passion for statistics. I'm sure that he would say it's 97.7% him than me, but we do share the same passion. And going to the international, I had to have some help. I love preparation, I enjoy it, but ultimately it's about spreadsheets and statistics. And what I really care about is the storylines behind those. So what Ben helped me with was finding those statistics and working together to try and find some really cool stuff that we could bring out in the international. And I think we did a great job between us. But I couldn't have done it without him. I'm not just saying that because he's here, but I really couldn't have done it. I drove it mad for about 4 weeks before the international trying to find all this stuff. So he's a good mate. Trevor, I've worked with a few times over the years, mostly on Intellectual Masters. Massively successful with Riot Games, presenting the LCS in Europe. I think we're very lucky to have him. He's a very talented man, and doing a kick-ass job on the LCS. So it's good to have him.
Okay. Now, in the beginning for you started your podcast and streaming with about 200 listeners. I'm sure it's grown a whole lot by now, and the future of streaming and getting into that in terms of almost like these other ancillary functions you can have next to the gaming. You know, you have the shoutcasters, you have the possibilities. What else is there for people who have a voice in terms of being able to express themselves and what gamers are doing on screen?
I think it's limitless. I really do think it's limitless. You can do and be whatever you want to be, and I think that's one of the real perks and greatnesses of esports. It's unlike any other sport in that the entry level is significantly low, but if you have talent, you can go an awful long way. And these days, 10 years ago, as shoutcasters, we didn't get paid. 10 years ago, I was paying my own way to go and shoutcast at QuakeCon, and paying my own flight, and that's 10 years ago. In a very short period of time, when you compare it to traditional sports, we are miles ahead now. And these days, there are many roles. So if you enjoy games and you enjoy esports, there's probably some skills that you already have that will enable you to find a role within esports. I mean, Ben's a great example. He's a fantastic statistician. 3 years ago, we couldn't have employed Ben. No one could have hired him because the money wasn't there and the backing wasn't there. But we knew we needed those kind of people, those support elements. Same with observers, the same with admins, the same with anyone that can do any of the back stuff that helps esports come alive, and there's hundreds of them. I think we had 500 volunteers at Katowice last year. Now, you can't produce an esports event with 10,000 people attending at a weekend without all of that support. So, I'm just happy that there's such a low entry level, and pretty much anyone, if they want to do it, can get into it.
Okay, great. Barry, let me just come to you with this one, because you're speaking about the international nature of these contests and, of course, what we're doing here. What would you say are some of the biggest differences? I'm sure scale is an obvious one, but in terms of the challenges that we have here and what they were able to do really well overseas.
Well, I've been to DreamHack. I've had the privilege of going there. I went to a Dota competition in Taipei as well, and every time I've been to these events, there just always seems to be so many people doing so many things at once. You go to a competition in South Africa, and it's grown over the last 10 years, and I remember getting out of the car and carrying my PC across this parking lot, and this is to compete in a competition. You know, you now go to an event like DreamHack and these guys walk in onto stage with the backpack and they're there, they're done. It's like, we're here, we're ready, let's win some money. And like I was saying, you're walking 500 meters a kilometer with your PC and your monitor and your old CRT monitor as well. And things have evolved to the stage now internationally where it's just kind of like you rock up and you play. Whereas here in South Africa still, we're at the stage where you've got to bring everything with you. And you know, you've got to hope that your mouse doesn't break, you've got to hope that your keyboard doesn't break, nothing. You know, all of these worries that are there. And you know, when we start getting to the stage where people can attend, Paul was saying yesterday, you know, we have a minor or a major or whatever you want to refer to it as, where guys can just rock up and play. That's when you can start to bridge that gap between having to worry about all the other things that you shouldn't have to be worrying about. The Springboks don't have to worry about whether the rugby field's been watered, you know, and they don't have to bring the rugby poles with them. They get there and it's done. So it's the same kind of vibe as in South Africa at the moment. We're kind of like doing the whole donkey cart thing where we need to be getting into the fast track as well.
Okay, and when you've been to a major before, how different is it from anything you've seen here?
Well, the talent rocks up and they are treated really, really well. I'm not saying it's not treated very well here, but from the first minute you arrive there, you're treated like a celebrity.
Sure.
You do your job, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about anything else. Everything's sorted for you. Your flights, your accommodation, like the whole process just seems so streamlined. You can tell everyone that you deal with has done this 100 times, and they're all experts. They're all professionals. The production quality is amazing. In South Africa, we've until recently had to do all the production ourselves for the coverage of the events, but this has changed rapidly over the last year or so. It's ramping up, and with the Masters it's going to get even better. There's going to be, you know, lots of live casters, maybe even dedicated observers. There's going to be excellent professional sound equipment and lighting. And that's what you need if you want to get the production high and make the event more accessible to more people. People aren't going to turn on and watch a sporting event that's produced by some red-headed guy in his bedroom with an unmade bed. They're going to want to turn on and they want to see the full show, and that's where we're bridging that gap.
Okay, Richard, maybe you can chime in on this in terms of your interactions on a daily basis with gamers. You speak to them a lot. What's the sense of excitement on the ground? I'm sure it's a palpable feeling where guys can't wait for this next level to be found.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, in terms of gaming levels, internationally it has expanded unbelievably over the past couple of years. And it's beginning to happen on a local level, and they are aware, the gamers themselves are aware of it. So the amount of passion that's in the South African gaming community is on par with an international scale. I believe the passion is absolutely there, and it's just that technology has been a little bit behind, but now that that's catching up and we've got the Masters and things coming up, the passion is going to translate into better games, better competitions, and I really feel that the international community is going to see us on a big scale in the next coming years, definitely.
Okay, and Lewis, from a shoutcasting perspective, in terms of getting on this bandwagon and making sure it doesn't miss you, for any people who are interested in shoutcasting or shoutcasters that are out there but have been flying clear overseas, maybe, how do they not miss this particular South African vote?
It's hard work, no matter what anyone tells you. Shoutcasting is hard work. As Paul was mentioning, as Ben was mentioning, there's statistics that you need to go back and learn of the game, of the players, of the teams. Have they squared off against one another? What were their stats when they did? It's about knowing the realm of expertise in which you currently find yourself. You know, the game that you're shoutcasting, who's in it, and it's the backstories as well. Like Paul was mentioning, it's about knowing. You know, certain players' mum passed away last week. He's not going to have a good game. Keep an eye on it. And not necessarily pulling out their cards, but also just knowing who to look for, knowing who to watch out, and just be entertaining as well. It's not all just about what's going on. It's about giving it the juice that makes people want to watch it.
Okay, that's a good explanation. Now, Paul, maybe you can take us through the profile of a professional gamer overseas, what they look like, these NGOs, how they operate on a day-to-day basis, because obviously there's a certain level of excellence that's required from the support staff if it's going to filter down to the people who actually play the games.
Yeah, well, I think that's the biggest change for me. You know, although I mentioned that Twitch was such a big influence on changing the way we broadcasted, I think it's the teams that have moved alongside that as well, and they've got more money in, they've got more sponsorship, they're better at getting sponsorship, they're better at marketing, and alongside that, the benefits are that the players then have the support structure that they need to be able to perform and go away on a regular basis and play in these international tournaments. And part of that is team houses, undoubtedly. I don't believe a multi-gaming organisation of any scale can now compete on the international stage without putting the right resources behind them, including team houses. But it's more than that. The players they think differently. They think like professionals because they are professionals. They are full-time. That's their job. So they're thinking a little bit, wow, I'm so lucky. I get to play video games and earn money and live a brilliant life. But at the same time, they're also thinking, how do I get better? How do I improve? How do I beat that other guy that keeps killing me, or he keeps getting me every single game? How do I get past that? How do I win a tournament? You know, how does that guy get so good yet I'm not? And how do I get better than him? And they do this through a number of ways, and it's practice is one of the big things, but the right practice. So again, coming back to the team house, being able to compete together online in the same room, have that communication and be able to talk to each other during the game without having to do it online. Comms are great, but it's still not quite the same as being able to get together, have something to eat together, talk about a match, figure out where we went wrong, correct it, go back, do something better. So the togetherness is very important as well. But it's, these guys they're fit. They're not like the old traditional stereotype of a gamer sitting in a basement. These guys are going to the gym on a regular basis. They're out running. They're talking to each other about the mentalities as well. What does it affect them? How does it affect them? Are they in a good mood, a bad mood? What is that going to change in their match next time? Do they like playing this particular hero? Do they hate playing that particular hero? Could they swap with someone else? All of these things matter to players, and they're all talking about it now. In the past, it would have been me sitting at home talking on comms thinking, God, I hate these four guys. I really don't want to play Pudge anymore. Why do they keep making me play Pudge? But I wouldn't say anything because it's difficult to communicate in that kind of thing without rocking the boat. So now it's much more open. On top of that, you've got dietitians to allow them to start thinking about how they eat, what they eat, when they eat, how does it affect their brain. The brain is the core component effectively, along with their hands usually when they're playing these video games. So we've gone beyond the realms of it's just video games to actually how do I conquer this? Not just to 95%. Every one of us sitting at this desk and everyone else here can be really good at a video game by practicing. It's that last 5% that makes these guys exceptional, and it's things like diet, training, activity, a good brain and a good mind as well. And all of those things come from having the dietitian, having a psychologist on board, having a motivator, having a coach, and then on top of that, a layer of strategy so that you can understand how the other team are going to play, how you're going to play against them, and what you're going to incorporate, and what you've learned from in the past. So it's, go and visit a rugby club or a football club, or dare I say it when I'm in South Africa, a cricket club. No one want to talk about that? Okay. Fair enough. But go and visit them, and you'll find very similar structures. And there's a reason for that, because our eSports teams and managers and owners have studied them and want to be as professional as they are. And they're also looking for those edges. How do I win that next championship? And let's face it, when you've got $18 million on the line, why would you not invest in all of those other things?
Of course, there we go. That's a very good point. And then lastly, maybe, Ben, just to find out from you in terms of how far off are we? In terms of our players, I mean, you're a guy who looks at the numbers, you interact with the players, you see what the skill is like. How far are we without all those functions that he's discussing from the international guys?
So we've had a couple of South African teams that have gone overseas, ESWC and DreamHack and various titles, Dota and Counter-Strike. Probably the best result was when one of the local teams, Bravado, went to MSI Beat It, and they performed really above expectations. They took out Insidious Idol, which was a well-known Southeast Asian team, and then they even took a game off Immunity, who came top 3. So they came tied 5th, 6th with Navi US, and that was a very, very significant result. In terms of performance, we have lots of issues that separate us from other countries. Latency is one, so having a top quality ISP, getting your low latency as you can possibly get overseas. That's one thing, but also prize money. With the team that wins a few R100,000 or whatever the prizes that they're going to win, that's enough money to send them to an international tournament to get that experience, come back and teach all the other teams to spread that experience, and ultimately, eventually, these teams are going to prop each other up to the point that they succeed internationally.
Now, Barry, you've been part of Bravado, and apparently you have a Bravado tattoo as well.
I do.
You do? Not any way you can show us.
Yeah,
Oh, right there. Okay, simple as that.
just on my gaming hand,
Yeah.
my mouse hand.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
Okay, looking at that, and MGOs, I mean, you're a part of a successful one. The future for them now, in terms of how the scene is looking, and obviously growing to be a fully professional structure. In terms of where we are right now and how far are we from realizing that, how are our MGOs compared to those over the world?
Paul touched on it, and he's said it a few times, the team houses and that kind of thing. So, like for me, I've been doing this for 15 years, probably as long as Paul, and getting a tattoo and that kind of thing is, it's the same kind of thing as a Springbok player would go and do something like that. And I've achieved a lot of titles with Bravado and that, and you grow into relationships with these guys, because in South Africa, gaming, it was a very privileged thing to have internet connection at one stage. So those few people that you started out gaming with, I mean, they became like family with you, and you started off these clans with these huge ideas. We're going to start a team, and we're going to play, and we're going to be competitive, and that's eventually how it got to the point where you're like, okay, but now we've got other friends that play other games, but so that's where your MGOs started, and eventually you get to the stage where you've been playing for 15 years, and now you're too old to play. You're not quite as quick as the 14-year-old kid on the block. Not just a little bit. He's just beating you. So you take a step back and you decide, okay, let's have this umbrella of all these games underneath us, and being the more experienced and responsible guy that you are, you start to manage these younger 14-year-olds that just beat you, and you get, in South Africa, not 3 years ago, I could count the amounts of MGOs there were on my two fingers. Now you look, and there's 6, 7, 8 of them, and they're starting to pop up. And the thing is what was happening in the past is everybody wanted to start an MGO, and it's because they built it up amongst friends. And as Paul said again, there comes a stage where you stop playing games with friends, and it starts to become a business. It starts to become, you're picking people because they're good, they're better, not because they're my best friend. But that started to shift in South Africa, where people are starting to create these teams based on the skill of that player, and the MGOs are now just growing, and they're not falling apart, and they're actually getting people that are investing, they're getting sponsors behind them. Telkom starting to say, well, listen, maybe we actually need to start looking at this, getting some funding for these guys and giving them the exposure that they need, so that they can become, hopefully one day, like Cloud9, Fnatic, Navi. I mean, you can just, the list goes on. And at the moment, I think not many teams in South Africa are actually known internationally. Bravado is one of them. But, we are getting there, but it's that finance that needs to come, so that they can get the team houses, that they can go overseas, that, they can get more exposure. And, like we were chatting yesterday, and Paul says, teams need to go overseas to compete, but they need money, and they need to maybe go over there for just longer than a tournament. They need to go there and play. And with the backing, with the MGO backing of all the sponsors and that's when you start to get there. And the teams and the MGOs are starting to actually ask the questions about this stuff, as to how do we do this? Because now we're at the stage where we want to now move to that level. And, I think we're not too far off.
Okay. And Lewis, I heard a story being retold to me about how some parents were having a discussion about how their children wanted to be pro gamers. And I'm guessing it's more and more it's happening where kids are saying to their folks, and listen, this is actually something that I could make a viable career out of. How do they go about doing that? And what would your advice be to a parent whose child is saying that to them?
Beat them with a stick. I remember, I'm a console gamer, which is a heathen in this panel, but There it is.
Me too, don't worry.
I,
You play console as well.
I've won every fight I've been in by 100 meters.
Secretly, every gamer has a console.
We know it. So I'm a console gamer, and I remember growing up, your parents, and to this day, especially in South Africa, your parents would still say, when are you going to study? When are you going to get a real job? My parents still ask me that, but it's hurtful. But the bottom line is this: the times are changing. For a mum or a dad that's watching their kid play a game, it's also a generation that's now changing as well. I'm a father of two. When we talk about kids playing games, my mum and dad are probably the last generation that are going to know this problem. My children will be the successors, and they will know that should they be playing a game instead of doing their science project, they're also furthering the potential for their future. And I tell mum and dad, don't worry, they got this.
Okay.
Get a loan from them one day.
There we go. Now, Paul, let's also look at the brands, because I think locally they're a little, the whole esports thing is new to them. So in terms of overseas, some of the brands that are highly active, and in terms of businesses, if they're looking at this as an opportunity, what is the appeal? How do they get in?
It's a great question. Brands, I think internationally, globally, are taking a lot of notice of esports. It's mainly because the demographic appeals to them. So, we're talking about millennials, 16 to 29-year-olds in general. Bit of both, male and female, but we do have predominantly males playing. But it's a different story when it comes to viewing, because there's plenty of females watching as well. So that's why lots of brands are interested in esports, and because the numbers stack up, of course, as well, and because that generation of players and viewers are different. I'm talking about you guys effectively, but and by that I mean that. I include myself, even though I'm a slightly older generation of this generation, if you know what I mean, but I'm going to throw myself in with the same. We don't watch TV the same way that we used to. We don't listen to the radio the same way that we used to. We consume media very differently, and we do it on a variety of different things. We want it on our console, we want it on our PC, we want it on our tablet, we want it on our phone, and we want it now. We don't want it tomorrow, we want it now. And we're not prepared to wake up in the morning and go, oh, I missed that Dota 2 invitation over the weekend, damn it, oh well, I'll never see that again. I want to watch it now when I'm ready, when I've got time to watch it. So we're a very demanding kind of generation, and because of that, I think we're also a bit savvy as well. We're technologically savvy, but we're also savvy with these marketing guys, right? They try and do this advertising stuff on TV, and it's not washing with us, right? We're not having any of it. But if you come into our arena and you start sponsoring an esports team, or you start sponsoring an esports event, and you put money into what we love you. We genuinely love you, right? We are a bit cheap like that, but we're also getting smarter with that stuff, because instead of just sponsoring stuff, we want to see what you can do, right? So Telkom started, sponsoring a full league, not just throwing their name on it, but actually doing it properly. That's great, right? It's great for South African gaming, and it's great globally. In terms of the other way round, and how do these MGOs get brands to come and sponsor them, that's much harder. They've got to start thinking, how do I activate for them? So in other words, instead of them just going, hey, Philips or Samsung or Renault, who have all sponsored esports, by the way, over the last 12 months, how do I get them to sponsor me? And the short answer is, they don't just want to put their logo on you. They don't care about that now. They understand that your audience is savvy, so they want activation. So if it's a credit card, they want to know, how do I put your brand and your players and your faces on credit cards, if that's what will get people to buy my credit cards. If it's a burger at McDonald's and you want to be sponsoring esports, well, how about the Ninjas in Pyjamas burger? Because that happened last year as well. And that's clever, because people in Sweden went and bought the Nip burger from McDonald's. How in my head I would walk into a McDonald's and say, I'll have a Nip burger, please, and fries. It doesn't work for me, but it works for Nip fans, right? There's a huge fan base there. So you've got to be smarter than going, I need 50 grand, I'll put your logo on my shirt. It's got to be more than that.
Okay, when you speak about that savvy viewer and person who takes part in the culture, what is the appeal of watching guys playing video games remotely on a screen? What do you think the nuances that maybe most people are missing in what's so engaging about watching these teams go at it?
Same as any sport. I can do it, these guys can do it better. Why? I want to be like these guys. It's aspirational. I play a game, I play pretty well, I think I'm pretty good, I play against my mates, I kick their asses, they all go home crying to their mummies, I'm the champion. I go online, and then there's all these hundreds of other guys beating the hell out of me. How? No, they must be cheating. That's my first initial reaction, right? But you then start to get better, and then you start kicking their asses again, and then suddenly you're on the fringes of, maybe I can go pro, maybe there's teams and stuff and money to win, and then when you get to that level, again, it's your aspiration, right? It's the same in the viewing context. I'm watching, but I'm enjoying the nuances and the tiny little differences between the fact that I can get to 95% and these guys are at 100%. It's like any great play in football or a great goal. Seeing a great hook from a pudge in Dota, just the same as seeing Andy Murray hit the line down the end to win Wimbledon. Seeing what happened with the Echo Slam at the International last year, it wins them $6 million. It's just as magical for me as an eSports fan to watch that as it is to watch Lewis Hamilton crossing the line in a Formula 1 Grand Prix to win the World Championships. It's about emotion more than anything else. And we connect because we're the same. We're just as nerdy as the guys playing the games. And I'm proud to be a nerd now. I can actually say that now, 10 years on. In the past, I could never have said that, but now we can. And there are millions of us in the world now, so people are taking notice.
There we go. Okay. Ben, when it comes to Dota 2, lots of people are playing the game casually. So obviously when you have an initiative like this, it starts sparking the interest in, hey, maybe I can take it up a notch. How do you see an event like the DGL just bumping everyone up to another level?
Well, when Dota 2 first came out, when the open beta ended and everyone could get the game for free, which is a huge selling point, obviously. DGL, huh?
Because we're cheap like that.
Yeah, well, we don't want to pay $6 for a first-person shooter. We want to pay nothing
$0
and get Dota 2. But yeah, so DGL hosted the first online league, and we had 300 teams. That's 1,500 players or more, because you have subs as well, playing just from one country. I mean, that's more than like most European countries, I think, would have in a single league. We beat Great Britain in an online championship, which was played on the Great Britain or the European servers. I mean, so when you see something like this, it's like the goal. And for many people, they decide right then and there, I can get to that goal, I can reach that goal, or I've got no chance. But this goal seems attainable for most people. I think a lot of the South African players are just going to say, okay, I want to slice of that million. I want to get my fair share. I'm going to train. I'm going to find friends, and like Barry said, sometimes we're going to throw our best friends away and replace them with a 14-year-old kid. That's what needs to be done. We'll do it.
Right.
And well,
put them to the side.
yeah, we're gonna try and improve our team, and we're gonna try reach this goal. And it takes very serious strategy and planning to get there, and kids of today can do that.
Okay. And then Paul, when it comes to taking what are usually very shy, reserved types and turning them into these brands, taking the MGOs and taking this collective of guys who really just want to focus on gaming, that's what the MGO allows them to do. How do they get the branding aspect of things right? Because obviously that comes with a sponsorship and just making sure you're viable.
Well, the very easy answer is social media. We are, as I said, we're in a generation which is switched on. They're very savvy, they're very technically savvy, and everyone's using social media. So the first thing is use it, get good at it, understand it, and don't just use one platform. Use multiple platforms. I think you have to take it seriously as well. And you can have fun with social media by all means, but be professional, and more than anything else, be consistent with the messages that you're putting out as well.
Okay, so there we go. And then lastly, what do they need to be the best locally and internationally? I mean, we've touched on this already in terms of just putting in the practice, but more than that, I mean, if you had to break it down to 3 top tips, Mr. Shalona, as to how to get this going as an MGO, what would they be?
Don't start too fast. So focus on 1 or 2 games to start with. Don't try and grow too quickly. Be genuine with your players, look after them, and give them the support that you can afford to give them. Don't promise them the earth and deliver nothing. Deliver what you can deliver, and don't make any of those extra promises. And finally, as I said, practice, practice, practice.